My name is Rorisang Zozoyana. People just call me Rory. I am the founder of MoLAWoo is a platform that I use for a lot of initiatives within the legal industry in South Africa. One of those initiatives is the mentorship sessions, which I run on a monthly basis. Another thing that we do, we have a merch store, and we're working on our website. This is like one of our t-shirts. It says Eat, Sleep, Law, Repeat, in case you can't see it. Oh, Priceman is there, and he's wearing one of our t-shirts. Hi, Priceman. Hi. So it says Eat, Slow, Repeat. You can check out more info about that on my LinkedIn page, but we are working on our website. And in the next couple of months, we'll be rolling out different color t-shirts, sweatshirts, cups, and stationery. So look out for that. And then one of the other projects that we're working on is online learning. It's an online learning platform for lawyers. As you guys have seen, I've started doing a lot of content around legal drafting, but that's like a long-term project for the year. And so yeah, so that's just a bit about MoLAWoo. So the way we're going to run the session today is it's going to be a Q&A session. I'm going to ask Yusha a couple of questions, which I think you guys would want to ask him and find out about. And then at the end, I will give you guys a chance to ask any specific questions that you might have. Then Utabani, who's part of our team, will do the Q&A session at the end with you guys, and then just like take questions and then address them to Yusha. So during the session, if there's any specific question that comes to mind, you can just tap it out in the chat, and then Utabani will be taking notes of the questions to ask at the end, or if you want to wait till the end, that's also fine to ask your questions. So today's amazing guest is Yusha Davidson. He is the co-founder of BriefCo and the SALT Network, and he's going to tell us about what that means. But I'm going to let him tell us his origin story. So Yusha, where did you grow up and where did you study?
Hi, Rory. Hi, everybody. Firstly, thanks so much for having me. I think as soon as I see that recording button coming on, I start panicking because I mustn't say anything controversial. I grew up in Cape Town. I then studied economics and law at UCT. I then completed my LLB, and at the same time, I was lecturing economics and statistics at the Management College of Southern Africa. I then did my LLM in criminal law on the unconstitutionality of common purpose. And I was convinced that I was going to be this incredible criminal defense lawyer. I ended up tutoring criminal law, law of evidence, and constitutional law at UCT. And then I decided to go into corporate law. I joined Worksman's, and I effectively practiced mergers and acquisitions and competition law and forgot everything there was to know about criminal law. And so ended my career as a criminal defense lawyer.
That always happens. It was also the same for me. Once I got into like finance and contracts and all of that, like I forgot about litigation. Once the corporate law bug bites you, there's no getting out of it. Guys, please put yourselves on mute because I can hear a bit of interference coming through. So let's just take a step back in terms of your varsity days, right? So you did a specialization in economics and law. Like, what informed the choice of straddling sort of both streams, doing economics and law? And do you think it has been beneficial for you to sort of have that economics background and then like merge it with your law studies?
Sure. So I think I was always interested in doing a commerce degree. I mean, the first year when I joined UCT, they were piloting this new program called Business Science, Economics and Law. And I was one of like 13 people who were stupid enough to choose that program. There were some benefits post doing it. So I think, you know, in competition law, a lot of it entails like a deep understanding of economics. So it really helped with practice when I was practicing eco. And then, you know, post that, the reality is that a lot of your learnings that you can get, you know, when you practice, after you finish your law degree and you go into practice, there's so many ways you can develop those financial skills without having to do like a commerce degree at university. So Coursera and Udemy, they offer free courses, and a lot of that you can pick up these skills that you'd otherwise have to get a degree in. So you can supplement your legal knowledge just by free online learning modules that's available to everybody. And I mean, I've used it a lot to upskill myself in legal tech, also in financial literacy again, as well, just as like refresher courses. So I don't think that it's a prerequisite to success, but I think upskilling yourself wherever you feel like there's a gap is fundamental to furthering your career.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think ongoing development is so important for lawyers. And I talk a lot about skill stacking, and I've written like a lot of content around skill stacking and sent some of my mentees material around skill stacking. And skill stacking is just, you know, as a lawyer, you can't just rely on legal skills anymore. Regardless of what field you end up going into, you need to stack different types of skills. So your legal knowledge is like the basic minimum, right? Then on top of that, you need to stack other skills that you can then use and deploy in an interesting and innovative manner. And so, and I see from like your CV and what you've said now, like a lot of the skills that you've stacked onto your law degree is the economics and the finance, and then on top of that, tech. And that's why you're in the fortunate position, an amazing position you're in now to like start stuff like BriefCo and Sort Network. So I could not agree with you more. Then my next question.
I think I'm going to steal the term skill stacking from now on. I
love it. I heard it on one of the podcasts. I think with Hala Taha, and she talks a lot about it. So skill stacking, I think, is like a tool that everyone can use. Awesome. So what drew you to the legal profession then? Like,
sure. So I was in love with teaching. I really just wanted to lecture law, and I was offered a post at UCT to teach labor law, funnily enough. And I said to the dean at the time and some of the other course conveners, I really can't teach labor law. Like, I didn't know enough about labor law. And one of my supervisors at the time said, you know, Yusha, I think a big problem in academia is that a lot of the academics don't have the practical side of law. Why don't you go and become an admitted attorney and you can always come back? And then when I joined Worksman's, the first department I got put in was the labor law department. So I just ended up coming full circle again. But ultimately, you know, when I got into Worksman's, I fell in love with practice. I really fell in love with both litigation and commercial law, more so commercial law. And a big part of me, you know, I sat in my office quite often thinking, why do we do things this way? Why aren't we doing it like this? And getting frustrated with the way things are. I mean, big law is no different to any other firm. Like, yes, you have some tech, but there's not a lot of innovation that's happening in law in general. And that's when I decided to really merge my two passions, law and innovation.
So that actually segues nicely into our next question then. So what informed your decision to leave, right? Because everyone wants to get into the big firm. So you're already in a big firm, you had won the lottery, which a lot of people think it is, you know, to get into a big firm, and then you like decide to leave. I think you left after articles, right?
Yeah, 1 year as an associate.
Yeah, 1 year, so 3 years. What informed that decision to leave?
Yeah, maybe first to address like that terrible stigma, like that the big five is all the hype. Honestly, I've seen incredible attorneys coming from every area of law, some of them even better than the ones that's practicing at your big five. I think big five just has a bigger marketing budget naturally to make themselves look like they're better than a lot of the small, medium-sized law firms as well. But regardless, I think, you know, we were sitting, it was October 2019, yeah, just before COVID started, and my wife and I, who was at ENS, she's our CEO, she's the CEO of BriefCo, CEO of Salt. We were sitting at home and we realized that we couldn't work like this anymore. The hours, the stress, the fact that like if we wanted to have a family, it actually wouldn't have been possible. And we decided, okay, we have to make a move now, or we're in this race for the rest of our lives. So we decided we were going to travel for a bit and maybe see what we could do. But one day we were at home and I was just asking Catherine out of interest, like, what is it like in litigation that really frustrates you to no end? And she said, you know, legal cost consulting, like giving your getting a bill of cost prepared by a legal cost consultant takes so long. It's completely manual. Like, I don't understand why, like, nothing has changed. And that night we just got together with like our other co-founders, and we put some code together, entered into a hackathon that Capitec was fortuitously hosting. And they liked the tech that we built so much that they ended up becoming our first investor, like our early investors into our company. And we've just been riding that wave ever since. So I think what drew me was Catherine's innovation one night that eventually led to us building an entire company right now. Yeah.
It's crazy how those things happen. So was there any like forethought to you, like getting off the corporate sort of track? Because I know from a financial point of view, a lot of people are like, okay, I need the money, and we all need the money. So did you do stuff like thinking about, okay, how am I going to survive while I try and build this thing? Were you so irritated and tired of corporate that you left like within a month or whatever, or did you like plan it in advance?
Sure, no, it was planned since like I think when we got retained, just when we finished our articles, we were saving every single month, moved like out of like our apartment that we had, and like doing everything to reduce all of our costs, sold our cars, made sure that we could like have enough money if we decided to quit and start something or do something else. And, you know, there was we had options of like, maybe we study further, maybe I'll go back and teach, maybe Catherine goes and does like, Catherine wanted to actually be a high school teacher, primary school teacher, sorry. And we thought, maybe let's just do that. We wanted to change our whole life. And then, like I said, Catherine, just with a stroke of absolute genius, said, let's try and disrupt the legal cost consulting industry. And since then, like, we haven't gotten off this train. But yeah, we had to make the active decision to change our lives. Like, no going out, no drinking, no smoking, no partying, like actually not seeing friends at all, because every money that, like any amount of money that you spend is actually a waste when you're trying to like really change your life and get out of like to get security once you had a job. And I think that was the toughest decision that we had to make.
And I think that's the one trigger that gets a lot of people, right? The having to downgrade your life and having to like, it comes with sacrifice. I read a lot about entrepreneurship and I read a lot of books, and there isn't a single person who has like built something by themselves who hasn't had to sacrifice. Yeah. And that period of sacrifice is not like 1 or 2 months of sacrifice. It's prolonged, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the biggest issue is like, if it, you know, at the beginning, it used to get to us a lot, like seeing our colleagues, seeing our friends, like just keep advancing in their life, in their career. And we sitting there like in the first couple of months of starting this and thinking, what the hell have we done? We don't have anything. We sold a lot of our stuff. What are we actually going to do with ourselves now? Like, did we make the worst decision of our life? But at the end of the day, like, you're in it and you just have to keep pushing. And thank God, Catherine is a staunch Catholic, so she was doing an excessive amount of praying for the both of us.
It's good to know. So I want to hear then like more about like BriefCo, right? So the company that you co-founded with Catherine is BriefCo, and you touched a bit about it. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but can you just expand on like exactly what BriefCo does and what your journey has been like as a legal tech co-founder?
Sure. So maybe just to touch on the first aspect, like legal tech co-founder. I don't have any. I can't write code. I have no interest in learning how to write code. The same way our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, has no interest in learning about the law. Each person has their separate skills in the team, and you rely on that fully. Our CFO, I don't question when he prepares his financial statements, the same way he doesn't question when we prepare legal related stuff as well. So it's putting together a team that has the necessary skills and relying and trusting those people who have that skill. So when I say I'm a legal tech co-founder, I'm just a co-founder of a company that just so happens to be serving the legal industry, just a tech founder at the end of the day. And what BriefCo does, as some of you might know, when you're once you win your court case, the losing party has to pay the winning party's legal fees. But just because you use the ENX or Worksmans or Weber Wenzel doesn't mean you can recover that excessive cost. So even though your director charged 3,500 Rand per hour, the government has essentially set tariffs, set rates for certain tasks. So for making a telephone call, you can recover 115 Rand per 5 minutes. So once you win that court case, you prepare a master invoice of all the work that you've done. It's called a bill of costs. That's based on the tariffs, and you use that to recover costs from the losing side. So before, it was an entirely manual process that you go and you deliver your file. You then, the cost consultant would then take like between 2 and 6 months to prepare a bill of costs. We just implemented tech in the entire process, so a digital platform to request your services, deliver your documents, store your documents, and then we just implemented some AI, so natural language processing. We effectively just match what gets done in the invoice with what's stipulated in the tariff, and we then automate the preparation of a bill of costs that gets reviewed by us as lawyers who understand law of costs now, and our turnaround time is 5 days. And through that, we work with most of the top law firms in South Africa, but our real interest is in the small and medium-sized law firms and the solo practitioners, really implementing tech with them to be able to drive efficiencies and show them that with just a couple of changes, you can be competing with big law as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And has it been like an organic journey in terms of founding BriefCo, or has every step been like planned in advance, or have you been evolving as the company is growing?
Sure, I think with like every journey in entrepreneurship, it changes every day. Every day things change. Somebody comes up with an idea, let's do this. You know, when we started BriefCo, we were just going to do drafting bills of costs and drafting oppositions to bills of costs. We were never going to attend taxations in court. And, you know, we changed quickly, we adapted, we started attending taxations. Before, we were going to have BriefCo as a software service that we were just going to sell to lawyers. We then changed it to run it as a managed service where we do all the work instead. So every week something changes, and even our platform changes just from customer feedback, how we deliver our service. And that's the thing about really having a tech company, staying agile and listening to your customers wholeheartedly, and really trusting in what they want and innovating at all stages constantly.
Mm. And how is it working with the team? Like, how did you find the people with your team? So I know that you co-founded it initially with Catherine, but now you're saying you've got a chief technology officer, you've got an accountant who I'm assuming works full-time on BriefCo. How did you put together your team, and what are the team? How is it working with the team from a co-founder perspective?
Sure. So from the co-founders, it's 4 co-founders. It's myself and Catherine. We are both full-time. I'm lucky enough to be married to Catherine, so that's how I met Catherine. Okay. And our other co-founders, our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, that happens to be my brother, but he's not full-time. He's part-time. He heads up Old Mutual's investment arm. And then our CTO, Colton Gwenya. He is also the head of engineering for Ringia, which is one of the biggest competitors to eBay in Africa. So how I met them, Danielle, our CFO and our CTO had a relationship from building fintech products previously. And we then just asked them to join our team. And that's how we effectively all got together.
Okay. And what have your top 3 challenges been so far in founding BriefCo?
I think once a similar problem that I faced at law firms, I think that regardless of size, everybody faces this problem in law firms, even at law school, is taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental health. Like I was working unbelievable hours trying to keep these customers happy. Because lawyers never stop working, you as a service provider to lawyers think that you should not stop working as well. And it culminated in me having unbelievably bad burnout last year. We had to take a month off. And so that was a big failure for me. And it's not only that's an issue. It's that if you work on that level, and that's the thing that myself and Catherine really didn't like about the law firms. You know, you see your director, you see your senior associate, or your associate working those hours. You often feel like you have to if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be successful. And I was effectively doing that to the rest of my team as well. Like me working those ridiculous hours, I was just perpetuating what I was complaining about in a law firm. And I think like not taking those lessons and implementing it in the company that we effectively built was one of the biggest failures I had last year. Thankfully, all of that has changed now, and I'll never ever do something like that again.
No, the burnout is a serious problem, and I think it's an occupational hazard, because that's the training you get as a lawyer, right? Like, you are trained to work hard, and you try and escape that and try and do something. And this is the thing I'm finding with MoLAWoo as well. Like, I'm because I still have a full-time job, but I'm doing MoLAWoo on the side, and I spend like weekends I'm on it, and in the evenings, and you can't not sleep, right? And that's a problem. You can't not sleep, and you are less efficient. So I definitely can resonate with the working too much and then burning out, because it's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. Like, you're going to be doing this for decades and decades to come. So working yourself to the ground is never good advice for anyone. So thanks for sharing that. And then, so what has been your proudest moment so far in terms of working within BriefCo?
I think my proudest moment, I won't speak for the other co-founders, my proudest moment, no, there's two. I think the first time when somebody made a matter on our platform, myself and Catherine, it was very early on, and like a year and a half ago, I remember Catherine and I couldn't believe it, and we were celebrating to no end. It was maybe one of the biggest achievements I've ever had. And then I think the next one was doing our first, like our first hire, bringing on like our first employee, which happened to be a guy called Jared Poole, he was actually one of our clients before, and we stole him from a law firm. I'll say we stole him from a law firm because it was always to steal him from that law firm, and he was from a law firm out in Cape Town called Skuman Law. And I think like hiring somebody and like saying like building something with somebody that like you didn't know before, and sharing a passion with somebody else. That was an unbelievable feeling. And he's effectively one of the co-founders. Like he's so deeply entrenched in us that he's been building stuff with us all this time. And like I say, you're nothing without the people around you. And so my biggest achievement will be, after every single hire, it will be bringing on that next person.
Yeah, they say that the most difficult hire to make is the first one, right? Because now you're like, your heart is beating fast, and you're like, now I have a salary that I need to make every month. And they say after that it's easy. So congratulations on hitting that milestone. As we were chatting before everyone came online, what I'm realizing with MoLAWoo is you can't build anything meaningful by yourself. Like, you literally can't do it by yourself. And that is the transition I'm in now. Like, I have a team of people working with me now on a volunteer basis, and Utaban is one of those people. But I am a control freak, right? And I think I can do everything myself. But and I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone was saying you can make 0 to 100,000 rand by yourself, but you can't jump from 100,000 to 1 million, and you definitely can't go from 1 million to 10 million. It's physically impossible. So definitely getting a team, I think, is one of those things that are like crucial to succeeding in any endeavor. So congratulations on building out your team. It's exciting time. So we've touched on BriefCo. I want to touch a little bit now on the SALT network. And I'm curious to find out, what was your motivation behind co-founding the SALT network, and what are some of the initiatives that you guys are involved in?
Sure. So, unlike fintech, the legal tech industry is completely underdeveloped. So in fintech, if you were in the space, there's networks. You could pick up the phone. You could be connected with anybody in the fintech space. You could be connected with execs at banks. And legal tech didn't have the space where anybody was cultivating relationships. And while myself and Catherine were in practice, because you're in this rat race of like in big law and even at law school, you just want to compete. You have to be better than the next person in order to get hired at like a law firm. When you're at the law firm, you have to compete if you want to be the one that gets retained. But ultimately that comes at like a cost. You're sacrificing building real relationships with your colleagues. And when I left the law firms, I realized that if I had built those relationships, getting some of those customers would have been a lot easier for me than trying to build those relationships afterwards. And so the SALT network, the South African Legal Technology Network, is essentially just a network to foster and cultivate relationships in the legal industry, all with a central focus and theme being law, tech, and innovation. And so through that, now we were on LinkedIn. It's one of the big, probably is the biggest network in South Africa at the moment that's cultivating relationships in the legal industry, with over 2,500 members. So we host networking events. Rory Sang, you've spoken at one of them. We've had other in-house counsel speaking as well, attorneys, tech founders, venture capital firms have been there. And then on the side, what SALT also does is we release content written by thought leaders, and we've really democratized, we're trying to democratize knowledge. So we never assume that the founders of SALT, we've actually never written any content ourselves. We also never assume that the directors of law firms are the only people that possess knowledge. So we have students who's writing. Legal tech is completely new, so no one can say I'm an expert in legal tech. That doesn't exist. And also it's so broad. So your students are writing things that they're researching. Candidate attorneys are writing articles. We just completely democratize knowledge and put a platform out there for you to share your knowledge. And then we also started hosting free training courses on knowledge that is only accessible to some people. So let's say you're studying a master's in cybercrime or information technology, or you're in a telecommunications and media team at one of the big firms. That knowledge only sits with those people. So we really bring those people to the forefront and have them teach the rest of the community for free. And so with that, we're really starting to go into like the EdTech model, where we're starting to provide courses. So we just did a partnership now with, we're first finalizing a partnership with the University of Johannesburg to start doing courses, master classes, and we're providing access to the industry experts. And then at the same time, SALT is really big in building tech products, technology products to the market. So Jared's leading the team in finalizing a WhatsApp chatbot for the National Prosecuting Authority to assist with providing information to gender-based violence victims in South Africa. So hopefully that should go live within Q1 of this year. And we also do a lot of web development as well. But now SALT's primary focus really is building this community for like the solo practitioners and the small law firms, to show them this is how you can really supercharge your practice and start competing with the bigger players in the industry. So we're hosting some events now in March for solo practitioners, small law firms, where we start providing you with tech products, introducing you to service providers, and getting you start building your websites out for people as well. So we really want to see, the reality is that the legal market is made up of the solo practitioners and the small law firms. And that's really the relationships that we want to be cultivating. We also have a very, very exciting new free tech product that's being released on Monday to the entire market for free. It's called Naki. In Swahili, it means I am. We are leveraging ChatGPT and making ChatGPT accessible to everybody. So more details will be released about that on Monday. But I've just sent a link to both my LinkedIn, but to the SALT network. And on SALT network, you can sign up to our newsletter, and everybody that's part of our newsletter will get access to this new free solution that's going to be made available to the whole of SA.
I'm on mute. That's really great, Yusha. So Yusha's just put in the link here. So if you guys want to just take it down now, open it now, that will be great. But I'm sure you can find more information on Naki on his LinkedIn profile. There's a couple of things I want to just flesh out in what you've just said, Yusha. For me, it's the connecting bit. And I think that's the great thing about the SALT network, is just bringing like-minded people together. And as a solo practitioner or a smaller law firm or a lawyer who's not within the big firms, I think the lifeline of all of your work is going to come from connecting with like-minded people. And the issue I found, guys, I have a person. Can you just give me a minute, please?
Sure.
1 minute. being a working mom. So I literally had like someone on my door, mommy, but it's okay. So what I was saying was the connecting for me is very important. And I think that's what SALT does really well, just bringing people together. And I think your events last year, I think took the industry by surprise, because everyone's like, what's SALT Network? Because you guys were like everywhere on LinkedIn, like on social media, it just like took over. And I was so happy that you guys did so well with your first events. And I'm sure everyone is like so excited to go to you said, when is your next event? In March?
So we have a couple of events happening this year. We're doing a lot more this year. So we have events happening in March. That's really to start building relationships between solo practitioners and smaller law firms. And then we have an event in June or July. That's a pitch competition with legal tech startups. And then we have another event happening in, I think, August or September. It's a showcase about alternative careers in alternative legal careers, and then our annual networking event. And so some of those events will be happening out in Joburg, Pretoria, and Cape Town. And ideally, the plan is eventually to start going to the rest of South Africa as well and hosting in-person events there as well.
Okay. That's fantastic. And I think you guys are doing such a good job of just connecting different people. And I'm excited to attend your events this year. So next question from my side. So it's common for a lot of people, to be in their own heads when they want to start something new or go the non-traditional path or route. What are some of the tips that you would give to someone who's like overthinking or procrastinating or sleeping on their own ideas?
Yeah, that's, we often see it like, with our with our team meetings, we'll say like, oh, like, what about this idea? And like, even the solution we're releasing on Monday, we were never supposed to release the solution. We were never supposed to release the solution. The reality was just that if you don't do it, somebody else is going to. And then you see somebody else living the life that you were effectively supposed to be living. So there's always imposter syndrome attached to going into the tech industry. But the reality is that most of your biggest tech founders have no background in the industry they're in. Most of them don't even have like formal education in the industry that they're in. The founders of Ozao, those guys weren't from financial industries. They weren't on Wall Street. They weren't even in banking. They were just marketing guys that built one of the biggest fintech companies. Same with Superbalist, same with Takealot. And that's the reality. Like, the only person holding you back is yourself. And so if you do have an idea, do it. But the reality, I think the big reality is that don't just give up everything you have and like dive headfirst in it. Run it as a side hustle first. And once you're ready to, once your side hustle can become your main job, your main source of income, then make the move, because it is very stressful just going in, like diving headfirst into it. Almost like baptism by fire, basically.
No, 100%. And I agree with you totally. Like, you need to get over imposter syndrome. And I always say, like, everyone feels like an imposter, and I embrace imposter syndrome on my side, because it means you're growing, right? So if you are confident in doing anything, or think, no, I can achieve this, it's easy for me to do, it just means that there's no growth for you there. So exactly. I always say, like, if you feel like you're an imposter, like, people will think, I don't know what I'm talking about, or I don't know if I can achieve it. It just means that you're growing. So definitely embrace imposter syndrome. I am consistently looking to put myself in situations where I feel like an imposter, where I'm like, do I even deserve to be in this room? Do I deserve to, because then that's how you grow. So I would also implore any of you guys who think you have an amazing idea, or you have something a solution that you want, or something that you can solve for. Don't sleep on your own ideas, and try and reach out and find people who can assist you with trying to achieve your dreams. But it is a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work, and it will come with sacrifice, but you also need to be very strategic about achieving your goals. Like, one of the things I consistently do is to like write out a plan, because what do they say? Like, a dream, like a goal without, specific steps is a dream. It's not something that's really achievable. So I'm a big believer in like writing out the things that you want to achieve and take deliberate steps every day to get to that point. So,
Rory, just to add on to what I was saying before, I think a lot of people are often like, they may have an idea, but they don't know, where do I find like somebody that's in tech? How do I meet somebody that can build what I need? The reality is that we all were at university. We were all at university if you have a law degree. And the thing is that the universities have computer science faculties. They have people who know how to write code. You should be building these relationships with those people in those faculties. That's what the guys in finance are doing. They're making friends and chatting to the people in computer science. And that's where your co-founders are sitting. That's where the people who can build are actually sitting. And that's really what you have to do. And also this obsession that people have with looking to like America, Europe for like solutions. Those days are over. Africa is the tech, that's where tech is, that's where innovation is sitting. Don't look for a Western solution to an African problem. African problems require African solutions, and that's really where you'll see success. So you don't need to be looking, okay, they built this legal tech product out in the US. There's so many of these guys out in the US, in Europe, Middle East, to come through the SALT network, who try to launch in Africa, and they fail dismally. And that's primarily because Africa is you have to understand the African market. You must know the people, you must know the landscape, and you have, as Africans, we know the problem better than anybody else. And if you know the problem well enough, you will know the solution better than anybody else. So yeah.
As long as they can see or you're in the meeting. That's all.
Sorry, can you just mute yourselves, please? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Yusha. And again, I agree with your sentiments. I think finding our own solutions is always better than having someone impute their own solutions onto our own problems. And I think it's important to, always keep in mind that if someone wants to start something, right? I always say, just go for low-hanging fruit and find a solution for something. You don't need to like land people on the moon. Like even with your idea. Sorry, can you guys please mute yourselves? The solution that BriefCo provides is something that is a pain point for a lot of people. And it's actually a simple idea, because we've always had issues with billing and drawing up costs for litigation. But no one has actually thought. No, sorry, mute. So it's and I always say this when people come to me and they're like, I want to start something, I don't know what it is, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, low-hanging fruit, like look around and find things that need a solution. And that is what will drive any project that you want to be involved in. There's problems all around, and if you look hard enough, there is always something that you can solve. And to your point, right, you won't necessarily have all of the skills required to solve the problem, but if you join stuff like the SALT network, meet people on LinkedIn and socialize and make those connections, once you have found the problem and you know what you want a solution for, you will have the right people or know the right people who can assist you in fulfilling your dreams or like making the stuff that you want come to fruition.
Exactly. And the thing is that like the European markets, the North American markets, they come into SA and into Africa to poach talent, because they know that the talent sits over here. Your tech, your innovators, so many lawyers are leaving SA, leaving Africa to go work abroad, because the rest of the world recognizes we work ridiculously hard, we're innovative, and we're willing to do what it takes to succeed. So like there's a recipe for success here.
100%. So we're almost at the end of our questions, and then I'll just leave it up to everyone else to ask their specific questions for you. But we did a deep dive onto your LinkedIn posts. I love your content. It's always very interesting. You posted a few weeks back that you think success in the legal industry is predicated on the ability to sell. and that it should be mandatory for law students to undertake a course on sales strategy. Can you just elaborate on what that means?
Sure. So honestly, when you're in a law firm, whether or not you make, whether you make partner, whether you make associate, whether you make senior associate, is all predicated on the writing fees, right? And ultimately, you can't be relying on the person above you all the time to be feeding you with work. You have to go out and get clients. But when you come into practice, you realize, I actually don't even know how to approach a client and to ask them for work. How do you do that? And I firmly believe that like a university should actually be teaching you those skills, and not only the skills in going and physically approaching somebody at a networking event, but also how to like build up a brand for yourself. Because that's something that I've had to learn. I don't post content because I love posting content. I post content because I have to build a brand for myself. It's a necessary evil, as the people in marketing say it is. You put out content to build a brand, and because you have a brand, it's easier to start selling your solutions. It's easier to connect with people. And the same goes with tech. The same needs that you need to make sales in a law firm is the same that you need when you're an advocate, and when you even a legal tech service provider, or any service provider for that matter. You have to be able to build a website, understand like SEO strategies, understand what it means to have a brand, understand what you need to do when you go to an event, how to speak to people at an event, how to approach people, how to conduct yourself at all times in any setting. Those skills are so important, and those are skills that are completely lacking in a law degree.
And this is when, again, skill stacking comes in. Like as a lawyer, it's the bare minimum, right? Your legal knowledge. And whether you like it or not, you have a brand, right? And I always say this to my mentees. Whether you like it or not, you have a brand. And a brand is what people think about you when you're not in the room, or when your name comes up is the first thing that pops into people's minds. So your brand can either be neutral, like, okay, Yusha, it's just a person, or it can be negative, where if you've done something wrong or whatever, then people think, oh, she's fraudulent, doesn't work hard, not punctual. I think because you have a brand anyway, I always say that then you must be proactive in building the brand, because whether you build it or not, you are going to have some form of brand. And is it not better then to be proactive and build a brand that is amazing, a brand, you know, that is strong, and a brand that you can leverage to get whatever you want. And another, and the reason why I loved your post so much on selling is that lawyers don't, even if you don't think you want to be an entrepreneur, or you don't have an entrepreneurial mindset, and you think, no, I'm just going to go work for a law firm and not go into business. You actually are in business. If you are a lawyer, you're in the business of selling. Like there's no two ways about it. Like whether you work for a law firm or not, like I always say, like in a law firm, you actually are running a mini business. You might be sharing a building and branding with other lawyers. And this is something I learned very late in my career. And I was only like about to make partner when I realized I actually should have been creating a brand. I should have been finding my own clients, because people are not going to be feeding you work all the time. So even if you are not like a tech co-founder or founder, even if you're not an entrepreneur starting a business around law, if you're a lawyer, you are in the business of selling, and sales is definitely one of those skills that you need to be stacking and have in your arsenal, so that you know you can deploy it in finding clients, and then just creating opportunities for yourself, so that even if you don't like the job that you're in, once you've built a brand, it's easier to then look for work, right? So, and I see a lot of this like on LinkedIn, when people are like, please hire me, I'm looking for a job. And I'm like, but no one knows who you are. Like you barely posted anything on LinkedIn for like 2 or 3 years. And then like when you're desperate and you want work, like that's the first post you're going to post. So I just would say to everyone, you know, don't sleep on yourself. Don't sleep on your ideas. Don't sleep on your brand, because that is the one thing that you can control. Being employed by someone else is not something you can control. As we've seen in the US with all of the layoffs within, you know, the tech industry, people are getting laid off left, right, and center. So if you want to build something for yourself, and again, it doesn't need to be like a multi-million rand, you know, investment company where you have like all of these sales. Building something for yourself can be you building your career. You just need to build your brand.
Agreed. You know,
and connect with everyone.
You know, there was just to share a quick story, there was a young guy from Durban who was in like third year law school. His name was, why is his name slipping my mind now? Give me 1 second. I can't get to his name now, sorry. But anyway, he's from Durban at the UKZN, and he was just posting all the time about legal tech before it was even popular, just posting. And eventually, like the rest of the world outside of South Africa noticed him, and he ended up getting scholarships, he ended up getting speaking positions, and anyway, ended up getting hired and coming on as a co-founder for a legal tech company based out in the UK. And at the time, he wasn't even like 22, 23, and he was doing all of this work, and he was still a student. And this just is from writing content and putting himself out there.
No, I've heard a number of stories like that. For me, if you want to change your life, post content. Like
Thabo Magubane. I can't believe I forgot his name. He's a dear friend of mine. I think it's just nerves that's making me forget. Thabo Magubane.
No, I'll look up a story. Let me write his name actually, because I love hearing stories like that.
And he's the world's nicest person.
Sure, I will. Thanks for sharing that story with us. So just to end off, what are your aspirations for BriefCo and the SALT network, and how can the MoLAWoo community help you?
Sure. So on BriefCo and SALT, we just looking to scale, keep building, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But like I said before, our real interest is in providing assistance to solo practitioners and small law firms. That's really where we want what we want to do with ourselves. Yes, we're with the big law firms. Yes, we have relationships with them. But the reality is that somebody asked in the chat the question. I'll just address it now already. If we're servicing all these big law firms, how can we possibly be servicing solo practitioners and small and medium law firms? BriefCo's fees set by government tariffs as well. But effectively, when we draft the bill of costs or when we go into tender taxation, our fees are paid by the losing party. So the law firm actually never ever pays for our solution. We don't charge for our platform that the law firm uses. So actually, if you use us, you're saving money, because unlike other cost consultants, they'll charge you for petrol, they'll charge you for printing, for photocopies. We don't have any of those costs as well. So that's also why we service so many solo practitioners and small law firms already across South Africa, just because they're starting to cotton on to the fact that they can save money both for themselves and for their clients as well. Okay, but for SALT, really, we want to build a network and a community of solo practitioners and small and medium-sized law firms. So if you have friends, if you have family members that's running their law firms, please direct them to SALT. Please connect them with myself, Jared Poole or Catherine Paulser, so that we can chat. And please tell them they must come to our events. The marketing should be going out soon. That will be in Cape Town, Joburg, and Pretoria, where we'll be showcasing like how we can really create efficiencies for your practice.
I will definitely be coming to your Cape Town, as many of your Cape Town events as possible. I have faith in the MoLAWoo community that they will support. So guys, if you're not already following Yusha on LinkedIn or are you on Instagram?
No, the only social media I have is LinkedIn. I had to make Twitter because I spoke at an event in Kenya where they did it on Twitter, or I don't know what it's called. I don't know. I don't even know how Twitter works, to be honest with you. I just focus on LinkedIn because that's where all our sales comes from. So okay, cool. One for me. I
think LinkedIn is a very good choice. And for you guys who are not already on LinkedIn, but I guess you would have found this on LinkedIn, but they say 5% of people, only 5% of people who are on LinkedIn actually post. So I know that a lot of you are on LinkedIn, but you hardly post and you're there to just look at other people's content. And I think you are sleeping on yourself if you're doing that. If you want to create opportunities for yourself, if you want to create opportunities for your career, then you definitely need to start posting content, even if it's like reposting other people's content or just commenting and providing feedback. People will see you there, and it's amazing the amount of connections you can make and the people you'll meet if you actually do put yourself out there. So please definitely follow Yusha and follow Catherine Jane Polser, who's Yusha's co-founder, and follow the SALT network. Try and go to as many of their events as possible. I think it's a great community, and I think you guys will learn a lot from that. Yeah, I think from my side, that's it. Thank you so much, Yusha, for joining us. I'm going to hand over to Tabani now to just go through the questions in the chat, and then we probably have like just 5 minutes to go through the questions in the chat, and if one or two of you have something to ask or to say, then we'll give you a few minutes at the end.
Thank you, Rory, and thank you, Yusha. Firstly, I'll go through the comments. Yusha, there's a little bit of praise on your platform. People are liking it, understand its purpose, and agree with the need for SALT network especially. And I'm just paraphrasing, so sorry, I'm not going to mention people's comments individually, but questions absolutely. The one question is for personal advice, and I think it's to both yourself, Rory, and Yusha. And I'm paraphrasing here. Rory Sang says she's recently completed an LLB, has an interest and background in health, safety, environment, and is asking, is it advisable that she become an admitted attorney in order to advise and represent clients in the HSE environment?
I'm not sure about that because it's very specific. So I'll just ask Rory Sang to send me a message on LinkedIn so that I can delve deep into her specific question. But the one thing about admission, and people always ask me, like I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't get admitted, because if you want your career to go, you don't know where you want your career to go, right? And getting admitted will give you more options. So if you've already done the work of getting a law degree, and you've already practiced law for a couple of years, maybe you went into a bank or like maybe you went into corporate, I think it's advisable for you to just, take that last step and actually get admitted, because it's sort of a higher status. You earn more money because you're admitted because you've already done the work. But if she wants to delve more into that question, she's free to like email me or send me a message on LinkedIn, and then I can like have a discussion with her on the side.
Sure. Another one from, it's T. Neveling. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yusha already answered his first question or her first question about the costing and the charging from BriefCo. The second one is, how did you cope with the struggles financially when you were starting, and how did you keep motivated?
Yeah, so thankfully, South Africa has a lot of opportunities to foster innovation. So there's a lot of accelerators, there's a lot of incubators, there's a lot of grant funding going to startups as well. So if you're proactive, you can apply for a lot of those opportunities, and they provide financial assistance to you through your journey. There's also a lot of venture capital firms that are providing funding to startups. If you are revenue generating, they like your idea as well and your vision and your team. And so there are opportunities to, like as much as it's as tough as it is in the beginning, once you start building, once you start getting that first couple of sales, once you start like seeing a little bit of success, the amount of investment that's flowing into Africa from VC companies, it's immense, and you can raise quite easily if you have like a good solution that has decent returns also for funders. So I think it's just keep believing, keep pushing, and some days it's tough, honestly. Like you have to just get used to rejection. Myself and Catherine, initially we were like, we take it so personal when somebody would say no to us. And eventually, like, you just get so used to somebody saying, no, not now, like, not interested, that like a no just means no, not now, like, I'll come back to you in a couple of months and you will be our client. And if you're not going to be our client now, like when you prepare a bill of costs, you best believe I'll be on the other side opposing it. If I can't be your client, I'll be your opponent then. And like just having that belief all the time and pushing, and like like making phone call after phone call after phone call, LinkedIn message after LinkedIn message to try and get a customer. And yeah, I think like accepting rejection, that's a lesson you must learn early on.
Thank you for that. You should 2 more questions. This one is very simple. What's more financially rewarding, your path or the normal attorney path?
Yeah,
the second one, just to probably just have them both locked up. There's a second-year LLB students at WITS questioning if you do have any back work or job shadowing opportunities within BriefCo.
Sure. So just on the financially rewarding, I think like financially rewarding always comes with sacrifice somewhere else. Yes, you can work in law or anywhere else. I mean, you can work in financial services. You can be making a ton of money, but there's always a trade-off, and that trade-off often comes in like a trade-off of mental health. I've always been a big proponent, big advocate for like sacrificing other things in order to ensure that my mental health is better than anything else. So I don't really like, yes, financial gain is important, but I mean, if I'm making a little bit less than I would in a normal path for an attorney, but my mental health is significantly better, I will always choose the mental health path. But like I said, but I mean, any tech company, to be blunt, any tech company that's a success, chances are, if it's a massive success, you will be making more than the attorney path, without a doubt.
I want to also jump in here and give some insights, and then maybe Thabani, we can close off. Unfortunately, I don't think people have started leaving and we're already out of time. So I think if you build your own thing, you will always make more money. I think you will always make more money, but you won't have that money now, and that comes with sacrifice. Yeah. So if you're trading time for money, then you can never scale, right? And you can never be like a multi-millionaire. And it also depends on your definition of how much money you want to make and how much asset. Even the top advocates, even the top lawyers, like I think maybe the top lawyers in South Africa might earn like 20 million a year, like in the big firms, or even the advocates. But that comes with blood, sweat, and tears. You're sacrificing, like they don't sleep, right? They don't see their children. My husband is at the Cape Bar. All the advocates, like 90% of them are divorced. So it's a sacrifice, right? So you need to, I want to sit and enjoy my money. I don't want to work and to make like 10 million a year and like literally don't sleep, work weekends, miss birthday parties, and then think, oh, I'm going to enjoy it when I'm 60, because I might not get there, right? And so if you want to create financial freedom for yourself, and financial freedom comes with building something that will not require you to physically trade your time for money. And if you could build something where you're not trading your time for money, then you're able to scale it, right? And have other people help you and other people make money for you while you're on the beach, like drinking cocktails. So for me, I think like owning anything or starting anything or starting a business. And a lot of lawyers make this mistake and they say, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I've started my own law firm. You're not an entrepreneur. You haven't started a business. You've just created a job for yourself. So if you're in any industry where you're trading time for money, then I don't think you're going to make money. But the other thing with founding something is if you don't have a mission, then you won't make the money. You can't start a business or have an idea and be like, you need to be believing in something, because it's the struggle of entrepreneurship is so hard that you have to have something else other than money that keeps you going. And the mission is what will keep you going. And making the money from entrepreneurship is not something that's going to bear fruit now. You might only make money in 10 years. So in the 10 years that it takes you to, or 5 years that it takes you to build this thing, and when you've gotten off the track of partnership, your friends will start getting promoted at work, and they'll start getting BMWs, and they'll start, the big house and all of that. you need to then, be satisfied with seeing that and believing in your mission and go on your journey, because the money is not going to come now. The money is going to come at the end. So the question is, do you give up making 2 million rand a year consistently as a top lawyer now and sacrifice that so that you can make 100 million in 10 years? Like that is the give and take. And those are my insights on entrepreneurship. As you guys can see, I've been thinking a lot about this. But yeah, I know Yusha was coy in answering the question, but you'll make more money. He's going to make a lot of money, a lot more money than he would have, I think, if he had stayed in practice. But anyway, maybe let's take one more question and close off.
I think the last question was about FAC opportunities. And so just on that, because of the VCs that are behind us and the information that we process and the tech that we built, a lot of it is proprietary. So we can't have people coming in and out of the company seeing the tech that we're building. And I think that's a big concern for a lot of tech companies. So like volunteer opportunities, internships is a struggle just because of the proprietary information and NDAs, and that don't really protect you the way a lot of people think it does. So unfortunately, just because of the constraints that we put on by our funders, that you have to be full-time employed in the company in order to see what's going on in the company.
Okay.
Sorry, just an add-on to your response. Is there any other platform that you know that probably exists that will assist students in this position?
So that's this another type of alternative legal career, which is in the legal outsourcing market. And there's a couple of big players that are in South Africa. So essentially what they do is that they're not a law firm. They provide legal services to big companies, generally global companies, and they provide it using tech solutions. And a lot of them are based in South Africa. So I'll just put a list of the companies here, and they have a very big presence in South Africa of hiring people straight out of university, and like while you just off your articles. So those are some companies to definitely look out to check out. So it's Exigent, Cognia, Lighthouse Law, Radiant Law. Yeah, those are the biggest players. And then there's Law for All that does a lot of work as well. Yeah, those are some of the people that hire a lot of people in the market at the moment, because they're taking a big portion of the legal services market through the innovation.
Thank you so much, Yusha. That's it from the Q&A box.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Thabani. We are 7 minutes over, but it's fine. Thanks everyone for joining today. Thank you so much, Yusha. I've learned a lot from you today. I'm inspired by a lot of the stuff that you said, and I will definitely be taking some of your advice on board on my own journey. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much, everybody. Lovely to be here.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye.